So in order to make the case for the event emitter and why we should end up using it, let's start an application without an event emitter and see what we can end up solving by using it. So I'm going to do a real basic application here that has some state. So we're going to have a class app which extends React component. And we'll go over here, we'll put in a render method. For now, let's just return. And for here, we'll just put in a horizontal rule, just so we can end up doing that. And we've got our app, so we shouldn't see anything differently here. Let's open up our console here, developer tools. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in some routes, because this is where you'll often see the problem that we're attempting to solve, where we have to pass down methods and we have to pass down state. We have to pass down props when our state ends up changing. So I've got my hash router. I'm going to grab my link, and I'm going to grab my route, and I'm going to get this from my React router DOM. Again, I'm using the CDN. Ideally, we'd end up putting this in Webpack. So this is going to be my hash router. And I'm going to put in a route, and we'll just start out by putting in a nav bar. So we'll have a route for our component, which is going to end up being our nav bar. And since we're going to actually keep state here, we're not going to have much of a choice in the fact that we're going to have to render this, and this is going to be our nav. Doesn't exist yet, but let's actually create it. So we'll go over here and we'll say const nav, and here we're just going to return, and this is going to be a div, and we'll just put 2 links in it. And we'll put a link for the home page, and I want to put a little space between them. And we'll put another link, and this is going to be for items. So here, this should just be our nav. We should see 2 links here. Let's just take a quick look. What the area is, route is not defined, and that's true. I put in router. I meant to put in route. Okay, so we've got our 2 links. If I click on either of these, I will end up changing my URL, changing it by the hash. And let's go over here, and when our component ends up mounting, I'm going to put in a couple of lifecycle methods here. I'm going to put in a constructor. I'm going to call super. And I'm going to say this.state equals, and for now I'm just going to say items equals empty array. And we're going to simulate an application by saying, hey, look, when our app ends up mounting, let's just say that what's going to end up happening is that we're going to make some Axios call and get some data. But for the moment, we're just going to go over here and we'll say our state is going to end up changing, and we'll use this.setState. And here, let's switch this to items. And we'll go over here and we'll specify that our items are going to be equal to an array. And each item is going to have an ID. Let's give this an ID of 1. We'll give it a value of 1. We'll give this an ID of 2. Value of 2. So we have some objects here. 3 and a value of 3. This is now going to be our state, and we'll go over here and we'll specify that we're going to bring our items from our state. And we're going to end up passing this state, our items, we're going to end up passing it down to our nav, which would give us the ability to catch this over here. And we'll go over here and we'll actually put in parentheses items.length. So we actually start out with 0 items. Our component mounts. Again, we'll pretend that this is asynchronous, but one of the things that you're seeing here, and this is just sort of the beginning part of the process, is that what's happening is that we are passing down information to these different components. So for instance, if we were to go over here and we were to end up putting a route, and let's say that this is going to be a route, and we'll give this a path to slash, and we'll go over here, and let's say this was the home page. So we might go over here, but again, if we have some method, we're gonna add a new item. We're gonna be stuck with going over here, and I'm gonna go over here and I'll put in home. I'm gonna make this an exact path. This doesn't exist at the moment, but we could get it going by going over here and putting in home. And I'm just going to put a button in here. And I'm going to be optimistic to think that I'm going to pass a create item method. And what I'm going to do on click, I'm going to call create item. Well, what does create item look like? Well, we don't have it yet. We'll do create item equals this dot create item dot bind this. And when we go to create an item, we're just going to add to our collection of items. We'll specify items equals, and we'll say we'll splat out whatever this dot state dot items was before, and we'll end up creating a new item. I'm just going to create a random number. And this is going to be both my ID, and this could also be my value as well, just to kind of get going on this. And with that, I can go over here and I could say this set state items. This is, again, a common pattern where you're passing this data down, you're passing this item down. So we've got create item, and we're getting this from this, and we have to look and see what we're passing it down as. We're passing it down as create item. And so if we end up going to our render method, we're going to pass create item. Create item. Let's just make sure that we don't error out here. If we click on home, let's take a quick look. If we click on home, we can see we're not returning anything. I make this mistake a lot where I'm forgetting to put a return here. React does not like that. That should make this go away, and when I click on add new item, I could see that the number ends up going up. So again, a very common pattern here to basically pass things down, have to call the render method with your routes, and pass down both the props and whatever methods you need on this component.